I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Picked up this article from the Elder Smith the other day that this evangelical pastor is waging an aggressive pro-Trump campaign in the black community. And the article reads as such, I don't know if, Ms. Engineer, if you've got the article, that in 2016, the Reverend Darrell C. Scott, a fundamentalist Pentecostal minister in Cleveland's African-American community, expressed his skepticism about Donald Trump's presidential campaign. But in 2024, Scott, not to be confused with singer-songwriter Darrell Scott, he's an outspoken Trump supporter who is urging other blacks to vote for him. And The Guardian's Ed Pilkington reports that Scott, a former drug dealer, is claiming that up to 25 to 30% of black voters may vote for Trump over President Biden in November. Scott told The Guardian, I hear a lot of positivity regarding President Trump in the black community, very little negativity. Those I speak to have changed their tone against him. Trump's not so bad after all, they say. If that's true, and to some degree it could be what Pastor Scott is saying, is that the roles have reversed. People used to worship Obama and the Democrats and slay Trump for the Central Park Five amid other things and refuse to rent an apartment back in 1970-something to a black couple, right? Now the tables have turned, the wheels have changed, and now people are saying Trump's not so bad, they say. But according to Pilkington, Scott's pro-Trump efforts are getting a lot of pushback from former president critics for speaking out on Trump's behalf. Pilkington explains Scott has been labeled an Uncle Tom, a sellout, a money-grabbing opportunity, and that's just the start. Scott's message to blacks in Cleveland is unwavering. Support Trump in November, not Biden. But is it a message that some of the Cleveland-based black voters the Guardian interviewed are flat out rejecting? Voter Leshiel, who is 30, told The Guardian, Trump's a psychopath, and he's not getting my vote. And 60-year-old Charles told The Guardian, I would never vote for Trump. He's a criminal and not a good person. Ernest, who is 76-year-old, told The Guardian, our democracy is at stake because of Trump's rhetoric. Now, we have a picture of the Reverend Darrell Scott, and for full disclosure, I have to tell you, I know him. I did not have a personal ongoing relationship with him. I talked with him once at a meeting when I was in supporting Trump. I was called to a meeting down at Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue back in 2015, and Scott was there. And we exchanged a few words, and then I think one of the preachers out of said something, Jamal Bryant said something negative about the fact that I met with Trump and that Scott met with Trump, along with some other so-called black preachers that met with Trump at Trump Tower, and Jamal Bryant had something ugly to say. So I think Scott called me and said, because I posted up Jamal Bryant, who had been accused of raping a 13-year-old girl in his church. And so I had a brief discussion with Darrell Scott then. We're not bosom buddies, but we were at the same time. And I wondered what happened to Scott. Mr. Engineer, I think there's a photo of Scott at the table there at Trump Tower going back to 2015. I wonder what had happened to Scott, because after the campaign in 2016 got underway, Scott kind of fell by the wayside. I fell by the wayside, to be sure, but I think Scott fell by the wayside as well. If you can put that picture up, can you tighten it up a little bit more? If you can bring it up, tighten it up a little bit more, you can see Trump is right there, and Scott's the one with his hands open, and Trump's got, by the way, that's a Bible Trump's got in his hand that Michael Cohen gave to him in the meeting. But that's me with the glasses on, and that's Darrell Scott there at the Trump meeting. I fell away from Trump and Darrell Scott fell away. So I never talked to him anymore. I never asked him why I didn't see him on the campaign trail and why he didn't get a position with Trump's organization, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, Omarosa was in that meeting as well. I don't know if we could zoom over to see her. Omarosa was one of the only women that was in that meeting. That might be her. No, that's not her. But no, Omarosa was there. Scott was there. I was there. Thank you, Mr. Engineer. But now he's back on the campaigning for Trump. I don't think that, that Reverend Scott, Pastor Scott is a bad person. I don't think so. He made a judgment call to leave the campaign, like I made a judgment call. I'm just not going back. There's no way. I think these three people that was interviewed by The Guardian are right. Trump is a psychopath. There is no way I could, and should I condemn Pastor Scott for, endorsing Trump? Trump is a psychopath. He's a thief. He's a grifter. He's a liar. He's a con man. And now he's a convict. So I'm not sure exactly what's happening with that. There are a number of young black men who are now saying they're going to vote for Trump, and they probably will. I'm not sure it's going to be enough to tilt the scale. I'm not that sure they would have ever voted for Biden in the first place. That if they ever have voted, I'm sure that I'm not sure whether they have or not. So I thought I would run that story today just to give you some idea about where Trump is and where Darrell Scott is, et cetera.